Beautiful. Good afternoon, everyone. How was your lunch? No one taking lunch? Okay, there is one there. It's my pleasure to welcoming you back in our event in the second session. So this event we more dig into global situation about diving industry, and also we want to know health protocol that already apply in several countries. And last is we want to know about market feasibility about diving in Indonesia from worldwide point of view. You probably noticed that with us, there is Padi Territory Director, Paul Tostaner. Please give applause to him. And together with us, we're already connected with another speakers from 7 places, 7 different places. The first is John Shepard, Marketing Manager SSI Indonesia. Second, we have Brian and Jill Miller, Travel Specialist One World Dive from United States. Third, we have Mike Solf, founder Aqua Venture from Germany. Fourth, there is Jerry Witkowski, Director Dive Adventure from Australia. The fifth, we have Jerome Kim, Director Beyond Blue Soul from South Korea. Sixth, we have our neighbor, Tiur Alda, co-founder Scuba Network Malaysia. 7, we have John Ted, President Asia Dive Expo ADEX Singapore. The last but not least, we have Priscilla Jiaobei, founder Beijing Dive the World Cultural Comms from China. Okay, moving forward, let's start this event with opening remarks from the Ministry of Tourism and Economy Creative, Deputy Minister for Tourism Product and Event, Mrs. Handayani. Ibu, the podium is yours.
Good afternoon, everyone. I hope you're still awake after a very good lunch, that provided by the hotels. I don't know whether that our other speakers already there. Can you show them? Hi, good afternoon. First of all, I would like to say hello to Mr. Paul Tostaner from Director Padi Territory in Indonesia. Hi, thank you for coming here. And then, John Tat, are you there? Okay, thank you for coming. Mr. Jerry from Australia, you're not yet coming. And Mr. Jerome Kim from Korea. Hi. Hi. And Mr. Brian and Jill Miller, travel specialist from United States. Are you there? Hi. Thank you. I know in United States still, what time is it there? Oh. So, but thank you very much. Really appreciate that you're already here. Mr. Mike Solf from Germany? Yeah, okay, hi. Okay, so in the morning, yes, but still, German is still in the morning in Germany, yeah. And Mrs. Priscilla from Beijing Dive? Hi. Okay. Okay, and Miss Tiur Alda from Malaysia, our neighbor. Hi, Tiur. Hi. So, okay, so in front of you, there's, I think, more than 50, I think, the dive industry in Bali. This morning, we have our meeting, actually the socializations of our CHSA protocol. That's the protocol for cleanliness, healthy, safety, and environment sustainability for in-dive industry. So this is what the ministry already done. And then from the beginning, I just want to say selamat datang di Bali. Welcome to Bali for all of you. And then although it's still we are meeting in Zoom, I hope that we will have a real meeting next year in Bali. Yeah, I already put in my agenda to invite all of you to come to Bali next year. Hopefully the gate is already open. And then, first of all, we would like to thank the Almighty God for the health and grace so that we can assemble here in Dive Tourism Market Updates with Zoom. This is online and offline. This is our new model meeting. And on behalf of the Ministry of Tourism and Creative Economy of the Republic of Indonesia, I would like to thank all of you who has taken the time to come here to our Zoom meeting or Zoom webinar. And in the past 7 months, we've been experiencing some storms and dark clouds. I think I better open my mask because my glasses become, smoke there. We know in the past 7 months, we've been experiencing some storm and dark clouds with obvious evidence of cessation of flights, cancellation of flight, hotel, restaurant, tour operation, and recreational scuba diving as well. The impact is really hurting us, but I truly believe that the industry will once again rise and prove itself as an industry which is resilient to crisis. In response to this condition, the government of Indonesia has taken necessary measures to keep our tourism industry sustained and to prepare us in getting ready with the new normal area. One worth mentioning is that the ministry has set up the new protocol of cleanliness, health, security, and environmental sustainability for tourism and creative economy, including for diving activities or marine activities. And then why we have this forum, actually, we here in Bali want to share with you the condition in Bali, as well we want to know from you how is the condition, especially in diving industry, in your countries. So we need to hand in hands. We need to support each other. So this industry will survive later on. And then through this forum, I do hope we can discuss and share some updates related to the current condition of diving in tourism markets. And then some of the issues that understanding that I think we need to discuss is how is the current condition of the international dive tourism industry in the world? How is the implementation of health protocol in your countries? I mean, the United States, Germany, Australia, or China. Do you have this kind of protocol that we can share together? So we prepare that for our customer later on. And then what kind of strategies used to deal with the pandemic situation, especially what the government, in your government, give the support to the diving industry. We have some programs that support our industry that we want to know as well from you, how it's happened in your country. And then what the expectation of international diving tourists, I mean the customer for Indonesia. We, in the Ministry of Tourism, have several programs. Actually, we name it Revitalisasi Bumi or Earth Revitalization. This is special for our beach as well our coastal area. And we will still continue to do this in order to make our coral reefs, with this situation that we have the time, we have the energy now to more care about our environment, because the tourist is, because we know that some area is really, we don't have time and we don't have time to look up our environmental issues. So this is the time, I think, together we We try to make our environment, especially in the coral area, marine area, to revitalize again. So this is what we want to know from you and want to discuss with you how we can work it together. Last but not least, we hope all of us can gain new insight from this webinar. We need to prove that we are going to win this battle with clear vision and strategic plan of what the future tourism will be or after this pandemic ends. And I wish the participant of fruitful webinar stay healthy and safe, and don't forget there is always rainbow after the storm. Tetap jaga jarak, jaga Indonesia, jaga pariwisata selam Indonesia. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Om Santi, Santi, Santi Om. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Deputy Minister for Tourism, Product and Event, Ibu Rizky Handayani. Moving along to our next discussion panel. Our discussion panel will be having speakers from offline and online. And for start our discussion panel, I would like to invite my beautiful moderator. She is also a PR consultant and scuba dive enthusiast. Lolo Sianipar, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Nadia. Can you hear me, Mr. Paul? Can we go together on stage? Because it's just the two of us. All right. You can sit over here, and I'll be sitting over here. Thank you very much. So that was a wonderful opening from Ibu Rizky. Unfortunately, Ibu have to leave the meeting, so it's us and then our other excellent, interesting speakers from all over the world. But before we start this second session, please allow me to give a brief overview. As we all know, the COVID-19 pandemic has not only hit Indonesia, but also worldwide. And it hit hard on every sector, including dive tourism industry across continent, in Asia, Australia, America, and Europe. According to Klein's Diving Industry Global Survey, at first and second quarter of 2020, global dive businesses saw a massive drop in business for the first 6 months of 2020 compared to the same period in 2019. The average difference was a minus 56.8% drop in gross revenues. Meanwhile, dive travel companies posted a combined loss of minus 64.8% in their gross revenues in the same period. And dive manufacturers and sales reps posted a loss of minus 46.7%, and independent instructor posted the largest loss of minus 88.6% in revenues. Apart from the loss of business actors, the pandemic has also greatly hampered and even stopped the movement of global divers to foreign destinations, including our beloved Indonesia. Today, we will look in more detail at what the barriers global industry is experiencing. How much do divers in their country want to revisiting Indonesia? And if Indonesia diver tourism is reopened to the world, what are the expectations to our industry? So moving forward to our first speaker here, sitting with me, the only offline speaker, Mr. Paul Tosh Tanner as PADI Territory Director. I believe you have a presentation?
Yes.
So the floor is yours, please.
Thank you very much. I will stand for the presentation.
Yes.
Thank you very much for the introduction.
Yes.
Do you have the slideshow ready? Okay, I've been asked to come along today to present on 3 questions. One is the growth of the dive industry during the pandemic, the response that PADI have had, and then any guidelines or any ideas on being able to move forward for when we come out of this. So during this presentation, in the next 10 minutes, I hope to cover those for you. I'll be hanging around afterwards until the end of this. So if you have any questions that you want to ask offline, please feel free to come and find me and I'll be able to answer those for you as well. So, ironically, we have been asked... I've got no clicker. There we go. I've been asked the growth of the dive industry in Indonesia during the pandemic. I'd like to kind of wind back to 2005. In 2005 till today, or until the end of 2019, Indonesia has had a year-on-year growth in the dive industry. Would anybody like to hazard a guess on why? Why has it grown year-on-year since 2005? Why was 2018 better than 2019? Everyone's very quiet. Quite simple from my explanation. Well, the first time I ever came to Indonesia was in 2001. And I knew about one place, and that was Manado. That was Lembeh Strait. I'd only ever heard of that because I'd read about it in magazines, and being able to go there and see it as the best place in the world to go muck diving. The difference between 2005 and 2019 is the progressive growth that we've had in marketing Indonesia to the rest of the world. We are in a very lucky situation to be in Indonesia, where all of our beautiful spots to be able to go diving haven't just been discovered yet, they haven't been over-marketed, they haven't reached their full potential, and there's thousands more out there. In Asia as a general, you can find that you're not going to find another Sipadan in Malaysia. It is the best spot. It's one of the best spots in the whole world. We still got to another thousands of islands to discover here in Indonesia, and the diving as well. I hadn't heard of Alor until I came to work here. Hadn't heard of Ambon. Hadn't been to the Banded Sea. All of this is beautiful diving, and we're in a very lucky situation to be in Indonesia, to have these resources to be able to promote diving. That's why, with the help of the Ministry of Tourism, with the help of dive centres, with the help of trade agencies, we've been able to market diving in Indonesia more and more each year, that it is a world-class place to go. We've got the world-class products, we've got the world-class services, we've now got to make sure that we get back to that as well. In 2020, there has been no growth. It basically took a nosedive, and diving in general, and diving education in general in 2020 has finished, has stopped, has reduced down to nothing. You can see the flags of the 5 countries that get certified the most in Indonesia: China, Australia, Indonesia, Great Britain, and Germany. At the beginning of the year, all of these shut their borders, which basically stopped the tourism from happening. Even within Indonesia, which is a large percentage of the certifications, that has also stopped, with travel restrictions to be able to have. So what has Paddy's response been? First of all, we've got a worldwide team of experts together to review our courses, to make sure that we can teach Paddy courses safely during this environment, during this pandemic. What can be done and what cannot be done. And we've changed our standards continuously since March. We've changed our standards more times since March than we have done in the last 50 years. Okay? We need to make sure that it's flexible. And the biggest challenge that we stand as a dive organisation is getting this message out to the members. Beforehand, it was quite easy to be able to do it face-to-face, but coming here today, I've seen people that I haven't seen since March. Okay, normally we'll be seeing them on a monthly basis, going around to do that. So our communications have changed. Not everybody wants an email, not everybody wants a webinar, not everybody wants an SMS, not everybody wants a WhatsApp message. But we've had to use many different ways of communicating to members to be able to get this across. Once we made sure all of our courses are safe to teach, we let our membership know, and we put on some webinars to be able to make sure that they are adapting to this as well. Once we know that it's safe, we want to make sure that it's easy for people to be able to learn to dive during this time. Okay, this is a very difficult thing to do because diving is very practical. So we've put all of our courses onto e-learning, so you can sell those directly to the members, directly to the consumers anywhere in the world, not just in Indonesia. We've also created a travel platform. So dive businesses in Indonesia can sell diving in countries where diving is open, where tourism is open. We can see that America can travel to Mexico. Dive centers in Indonesia can sell dive travel to Americans to Mexico while they can still travel there. So we try to find ways where we can help dive centres create revenue through travel, through teaching courses as well. Then we've also brought out a new app for COVID-19 for when we open up. It's already happened and going quite well in Europe where they've had some openings of countries to make it easier for people to book. Why do you use Tokopedia? Because it's easy. You go on there, you find what you like, they've got your credit card information, all you've got to do is remember the last 3 digits, and then you're ordering from Tokopedia. We want to make that the same for diving as well. With this app, they can book their day dive, their snorkel trip, or even their course in 3 easy steps. And we've had about 25% of the worldwide membership sign up for this as well. We don't want to get round to all the information. We want to make sure consumers, B2C consumers, know what's open and what's not. So Paddy have created a COVID-19 map that's worldwide, that gives dive centres the opportunity to mark whether they're open, whether there's any restrictions, or whether the travel requirements are there. So everybody around the world can be able to visit that and see that Indonesia is partly open for diving. There are some restrictions here, some restrictions there. You can zoom into the map. Here we just have a little bit of Sanur, and you can zoom into that dive centre and it'll be able to tell you whether it's open or whether it's not and how to contact them as well. So we've done that to be able to try and make sure that dive centres and that can still make revenue in the tourism industry in this time. The next thing is that we need to be able to go out and advertise Indonesia. We need to go out and advertise diving. We want to make sure diving is at the forefront of everybody's mind once the world opens up, once Indonesia opens up, once tourism comes back. We've always had that competition against other sports and other activities. When we start, when it all opens up again, we still got that same competition. We need to make sure diving is at the forefront of everybody's mind. Everybody's dive centres are advertising the beauty of Indonesia and why they should be coming here instead of anywhere else when it opens up. Paddy hasn't backed down on that. They carried on going through on all of their marketing. There's some very big numbers up there that relate to probably around 10 billion impressions. In 2020, we are going to reach more people with our advertising of diving than we've ever done before, even though diving's been shut for 7 months of the year, mainly around the world. So we're still pushing that. We need to make sure that we are marketing. That's the product in Indonesia for 2005 was exactly the same as it is in 2019, but we marketed it better as we went along, and that's why we had that growth. We've got to concentrate on that and focus on that to make sure we've got that bounce when the doors open up again. Paddy has around 87% of the share of marketing diving throughout the world. So when they do come back, hopefully they're going to come back to a Paddy Dive Centre. Then guys, Indonesia, we haven't stopped with that. It's a big number of 10 billion people. But we are advertising Indonesia all the time. We are creating blogs, creating videos, putting out paid adverts domestically and internationally to be able to promote diving in Indonesia. So when it does open up, it comes back and pushes Indonesia with a nice little bounce to get us all going again. This is something that we've always done. This is something that we're not stopping doing. If anything, we're doubling down on it to make sure that this is at the forefront of everybody's mind. Not only does Paddy advertise B2C, we also have a responsibility to help out our partners in B2B marketing, our Paddy members. So during this time is a great time. We've all got some time on our hands as dive operators. This is a great time to get our ducks in a row and to make sure that we're marketing diving correctly. Paddy has put together 431 webinars throughout the world that promote how to promote diving correctly for your business. Whether that's pricing, whether that's sales, whether that's Facebook, whether that's websites, blogs, email marketing, training your staff, customer service, customer relations, contact managers. Any of these topics have been covered in webinars over the last 7 months. And we've managed to reach half of all of our membership. So we have about 135,000 members around the world, and we've reached 66,000 of them so far today with at least one of these webinars to be able to go through with that. We also make sure that we're making videos. They're very expensive for people to use. We've got all the videos up there to be able to promote Indonesia. And we also have the checklist for you to be able to go through as a dive company, as a dive professional, making sure that you're using all your marketing channels correctly. So what do we do now? We've been lucky over the last 14 years. We've had volcanoes, we've had earthquakes, we've had tsunamis, but we've always had a part of the country that's open for business, and we've always had tourism flowing through. If we look back to the dive industry in the 80s, we had a huge challenge with the dive industry, all because of this shark, all because of Jaws. We had to market diving differently. We had to market diving that it was safe. We had to market diving that when you go into the water, you're not going to get eaten by a shark. If you're lucky, you will see a shark, okay? But we had to change the way that we marketed. If you ever look at the books that you were reading in the 80s and 90s compared to the books that you're reading now, they're very different. And that's what we need to go back to as dive centres, as dive organisations, as anybody that wants to market diving now. We need to concentrate on the safe factor. We have a look around us all today. We're all sitting here wearing our masks. We've all followed the protocols to be able to do it. And this is great advertising. And this is what we need to be able to do when you're doing your marketing as well. You want to make sure that you're following the protocol that was outlined this morning. Make sure you're advertising that this is happening. People that are going to come to Indonesia want to know that they're going to be safe when they get here. Beforehand, we was looking for adventure and risk and all these things to be able to make us comfortable into coming to Indonesia, investing into it, and enjoying that experience. Families now, independent travellers now, are looking for somewhere that's safe to go, and they want to know that diving is going to be that activity. So hopefully, Paddy will be doing their part. The Ministry of Tourism are out doing this already. I know they've got other plans as well to be able to market Indonesia as a safe destination to be able to travel to, but also to be able to dive in as well. So thank you very much. I hope I didn't take up too much time. And if you have any questions afterwards, I'll be hanging around at the end.
Yes. Let's give applause to Mr. Paul Hotstetter. Thank you. That is very insightful, and there's a lot of things that we can get from that, especially when you're changing everything more digitalized now, right? And then the communications. Banyak hal yang kita bisa tarik dari presentasinya Pak Tosh tadi, terutama mengenai perubahan ke arah yang lebih digital dari seluruh service yang diberikan oleh Padi. Moving on to our next speaker, we will present Josh Shepard as SSI Marketing Manager. Hi, John. Sorry. Hello. Good afternoon. Yeah. John, the screen is yours. You can go directly present. Yeah.
Okay, well, firstly, good afternoon, morning, and on the east, it's a very early morning for you. My name is John Shepard. I run SSI Indonesia by Kartika, and I dedicate staff to now and partnership with Usaha. If I'm not wrong, I think it was Bob Dylan that wrote, "Times are changing." Never before could these words be so true for international tourism, diver tourism. We're experiencing 2020. For SSI, 2020 started as what we were hoping was going to be a record. As my counterpart just said, the last 12 years, we've seen massive growth in Indonesia, both in number of active dive centres and record segmentation. We as SSI are slightly different from our counterpart. We're a business-to-business training agency. Yes, unlike our competition, at SSI, we only work directly with professional dive centres, free diving centres, dive resorts, dive boats. We do not sell direct to the public or even to dive professionals. Under SSI, diver training can only take place in professional SSI dive operations. And this really is the key to our industry. our professional operation. Without them, we haven't got anyone to train our divers. The reefs that we've got, stunning locations across the world. We need our dive operations to be open, to be operational, profitable, so the industry can survive. Here, SSI Indonesia train more Indonesian citizens and more Indonesian dive professionals thanks to our full range of material. We already work closely with many of the local domestic organisations. And as you should be able to see on the slides here, we work closely with the Indonesian Marine Police, the Bali Marine Police headquarters. We've invested a lot of time over the years in translating all our materials so that we can work with the domestic market. I was personally hoping in 2020 to see another record year. Hello?
Yes,
You hear us?
yes, of course, we can hear you.
All right. So we were hoping for a record year.
Oh, it's changing.
This year actually is the 50th year of SSI. We're going to celebrate our anniversary. 2019 finished with double-digit growth in certification, record number of SSI dive centres across the archipelago, from Pullaway to Raja Ampat. 2020 actually started very well. In the months of January and February, we're 20% up on certification. Then, like the rest of the world, something none of us could calculate in our business calculations, COVID-19 hit. Both here at SSI Indonesia and SSI Worldwide, we quickly realised we needed to act fast to help our dive centre members survive what's going to be a challenging year, possibly a challenging few years. In March this year, SSI Worldwide promoted to all of its members free digital training materials, digital certification for our Science of Diving programme. The diver training programme required no actual diving. It can be fully run through our digital training materials and SSI instructors doing review sessions, online exams, in much the same format we're doing here. In the next 4 months, over 50,000 digital science diving registrations made at no cost to our members. This was giving them a lifeline to have some income, some way of generating some income while the world was in lockdown. Most of the world was in lockdown in open-based learning. And this provided a way for our centres to keep in touch. SSI injected over $3.5 million of retail value, free training material and certification to our membership. Again, we're trying to allow them to gain some income and keep in touch with both past and future customers. We offer our SSI ecological programs in more than 25 languages for our quality digital training materials, which are ideal for home isolation. No one knew how long this normal will last, and no one really does today. We hope that later in the year things would start to recover. For the next few months, as we battle the virus, our industry here in Indonesia to try and survive, few remaining foreign tourists that were either stranded here, or the expats that chose to scout the pandemic here. SSI Worldwide over the last 6 months conducted over 360 online training webinars in 25 languages to every diving region. We tried to give them the tools and information for our membership to first adapt and learn the new skills of home-based learning, help maximise ways to keep in touch, keep us active and interested, so that when we could come out of this, we would have a future where they could come diving against the world-class diving of Indonesia. We helped our SSI members maximise the benefit of what we have as a global dive site guide. It is accessible through our My SSI digital app and through divessi.com. Letting divers.
Okay, thank you very much, John. That's very insightful presentation on strategy, how to deal with the pandemic situation right now. So I will just moving on. Thank you. So please stay because we will have Q&A sessions by the end of this session. And then we will moving on to the third speaker is Brian and Jill Miller, travel specialist, One World Dive and Travel, dive travel agent, and also own dive shop. Hi, Brian. Hi, Jill.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Can you hear me?
I've got you. Do you have us?
Great. Yes, I can see. Wait, I cannot see you yet. Okay. All right, wait. So you have a presentation, I believe?
We do.
On data of dive tourists in the US?
Yes, we do. So thank you for giving us the opportunity to speak with you today.
Yeah.
As you said, we're Brian and Jill Miller from One World Dive and Travel in Denver, Colorado. It's 12:15 a.m., so forgive us if we nod off asleep during some of these presentations, but we'll do our best to stay with you. Start off, we'll give you a little breakdown of what's going on in the United States for diving tourism. Of course, we're made up of 50 different states, and each state has their own COVID response. But overall, like everywhere else in the world, the entire United States had some level of shutdown and a depression within the diving community. So we saw the same 50, 60, 70% initial downturns. Fortunately, now in the United States, about 84% of all dive stores nationwide have reopened. Our local diving has surged, increased about 26% nationwide. But without a doubt, that's very regional, with particular parts of the United States having more growth in their local diving, depending upon what they had available. So places in the Southwest, or excuse me, in the Southeast, like Florida, or the Midwest, like Arkansas, had very good response from local diving. 74% of all the dive stores in the United States reported poor or very poor performance in their travel programs. And that was mostly a result of closed borders, both our own as well as other countries that we want to visit, such as Indonesia. To break down the dive tourist survey data in the USA, about 60% of dive stores currently are planning international travel come 2021. 32% of dive stores are planning international dive trips in 2020, including our store. We've had trips go already and more still to come this year. Our research has shown three categories of divers. Basically, about 10% of our divers are not going to travel until there's a widely available vaccine, which implies that they're not going to dive for probably a year or even longer. 30% of our dive travelers are willing to travel, but only within about a 6-hour flight window from home. So for us, that's diving within the United States or in the Caribbean, what we would consider a local diver. And then 60% of travelers are ready to go worldwide. These divers understand that COVID is not going away, that we have to learn to live with it, and that a vaccine is going to be at least a year away before it's widely available. A breakdown on the market potentials or American divers' interest in Indonesia. U.S. divers for sure have discovered Indonesia for many years, but it continues to be on the proverbial bucket list for a lot of divers here in the United States. For some, Indonesia is the trip of a lifetime, and others, it's the goal to return to Indonesia every year for as long as they're divers. Favorite destinations are the typical names, Bali and Komodo, Raja Ampat, and Lembah. But we're all discovering all the new little pockets that exist, like Ambon, for example, or Allure. Some of the health protocols that have been implemented in several of the reopened international destinations that we've traveled to and that are available to us here within a relative close space are quite honestly wide-ranging and constantly evolving. Obviously, everyone has new disinfecting protocols. Widely available hand sanitizers, social distancing when possible, mask wearing is a standard, and COVID testing prior to travel is becoming pretty standard as well. But overall, there are three kind of examples of differences on levels of opening or levels of requirements for the opening. So for example, Mexico, a very common destination for Colorado dive travelers, is Cozumel. No pre-testing is required. They have implemented stringent cleaning, sanitizers available, social distancing, limiting resort and dive boat capacity, but beyond those protocols, not much else has changed. We've been sending divers back to Cozumel since Jill and I personally went to see what diving was like in the post-COVID era. and have had very great success with people going to Mexico all throughout the country. Another relative local example for us from the Caribbean, Turks and Caicos. This is an interesting example because they've changed their protocols since they originally opened. So they were closed until June 22nd. And when they opened, they originally implemented a 72-hour COVID test prior to arrival and a health screening form that was required to be completed online. They had numerous cancellations, a lot of them at the last minute because of delayed test results. In the middle of July in the United States, test results were taking a very long time. And so people had plans on going and wanted to go to Turks and Caicos, but ultimately had to cancel because they didn't have their tests in time. Turks and Caicos has since changed their testing requirement. They still do require a test, but now it's 5 days prior to arrival, giving travelers enough time to get that test before they come. They also require a medical insurance for all travelers that will cover any medical expenses if they were to contract COVID while on island or during their travel to get to the island. The interesting thing about Turks and Caicos, they also saw a spike in positive COVID tests after reopening, but actually was traced more to a relaxation of restrictions, and local gatherings were the primary culprit, not tourist infection. So although they saw a spike, they re-implemented some of their curfews, limiting how many people could get together in a group, and that number has come down dramatically. A lot of people thought the minute they allowed tourists in, the tourists were going to be the culprit for bringing in COVID, and that turned out not to be the case. We just recently had a group trip head to Galapagos, and Galapagos has some of the most stringent testing we've had, or requirements that we've had so far. Galapagos has a COVID test 10 days prior to arrival, but then once you land, you then have to do another COVID test upon arrival. Guests are expected to quarantine at a hotel until their results come back, but they are saying they are guaranteeing the results come back within 24 hours. It is a high risk for a traveler because if they do test positive on that in-country test, they do have to quarantine in country for 14 days at their own expense. And so we have had some pushback on that people are scared to go for that concern, especially considering that many of these rapid tests do not have 100% success rate or returning false positives, and so that's a large concern. As far as the American diver, what their expectation is across the board, every country reopening has implemented new safety and cleaning protocols to try and minimize disease transmission. Those are expected. Wearing masks, social distancing, we expect that. A negative COVID test prior to departure from the USA, but we would expect that it gives us enough time that we can get a result before we come, so we don't have to get to cancel a trip last minute. So it seems to be that 4 or 5 days is the magic number where we're able to get the results back in time to actually start traveling. Travel insurance, I think, is an expectation that most travelers can expect to have a way to cover their medical expenses should they contract tourism, or should a tourist contract COVID in Indonesia. And I think most Americans completely understand the severity of the disease. The last thing we want to do is spread COVID. The people in the dive destinations have become our friends, and their health is paramount to us. But health is more than just physical well-being. The toll on our mental health, the economic losses, is nearly as draining as the disease for many. So trying to rebalance reopening in the tourist economy while managing the spread of the disease, although challenging, is clearly able to be done based on numerous countries that have done it ahead of us. So we're hopeful that we can see an opening of the tourism in Indonesia and the ability to come see our friends again. Thank you for the time. We do appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Brian and Jill. Jill, don't want to share something? Give a round of applause to Brian and Jill, and hoping to see US diver in Indonesia next year, okay? Okay, great. For our next speaker, it will be from Germany, Mike Solf, founder of Aquaventure Talk Reisen, President of Association of Dive Tour Operators, or ATO Germany, part owner of Amira Liveaboard Indonesia, and Dive Travel Agent owner. Hi, Mike. Hello. Can you hear me? Hi, Mike. Hello. Oke, suaranya tolong di
Jangan di-mute mungkin, Pak mic-nya. Hi, yes. I can hear you for once there. You cannot? You cannot hear me?
Hello, hello.
Hi, yeah, we can hear
maybe you can
now.
hear me, but I can't hear nothing.
Well, you can start your presentation. The screen is yours.
Everything is on?
Yes.
Everything is on.
Hi. Okay. Mas Arief mungkin bisa bantu untuk di chat lewat fitur chat Zoom untuk beritahu pada Microsoft untuk bisa presentasi.
Okay.
Alright, great. Hi.
Selamat siang to Bali. It seems you can hear me, but I can't hear you. So I will talk and hope you can hear me. My name is Mike Solf. I am from Hanover in Germany. Aquaventure is a travel agent, or more precisely a tour operator for diving holidays since 2003. Even selling in many countries of the world, we are specialized in Indonesia since the beginning. Saya bisa bicara bahasa Indonesia, tapi sedikit saja. I started in Indonesia as backpacker 20 years ago. I am the founder and owner of Aquaventure. We are a team of 6 employees. Since 10 years, I am also a part owner of a diving PNC in Indonesia. ADTU, Association of Dive Tour Operators, was founded in May 2017. We are 19 members from Germany, Austria, and Switzerland. The average of each company has about 5 to 6 employees. This is just a brief summary about the advantages for members and customers. More information on our website. There are no official data, but our association has some. There are some more tour operators, but they are not a member yet. So, for instance, this is a diagram for our sales in million euro worldwide. For your information, 80 to 85% of that money is going to our partners. Indonesia got the most. As you can see, sales went down from 55 million in 2019 to about 10 million euro in 2020. Guests worldwide, Indonesia got, as you can expect, the most. The average length of stay is 2 weeks. We also have a reduction from 32,000 guests in 2019 to about 6,000 guests in 2020. And not many more are expected till the end of the year. What are the biggest issues of the dive tourism right now in Germany or in Europe? For sure, there will be overlapping with tour operators worldwide. We have to pay all our partners, airlines, hotels, dive centers, liveaboards in advance. That means the balance at least 4 weeks before the trip, deposits sometimes even a year or more before. If a customer legally cancels a trip due to Corona, we have to repay 100% of that money after 14 days at the latest, a German law, which was fine in the past with problems in certain regions of the world, but not during the pandemic. That means 2% of our partners refund the money. 98% of them just gave a credit. So we act like a bank to them. Some partners didn't allow rebookings to new dates and still don't. They say it's your problem. So for us, it's 100% loss of the money. Some partners didn't allow to use other clients for the credit, which means 100% lose as well. Some partners didn't give the full amount as credit, like Liner. Before July, they kept 10%. After July, they charged a normal cancellation fee, which is 25%. At that moment, many tour operators in Europe were facing bankruptcy. Some partners rising the prices after rebooking, but by German law, the tour operator has to pay the difference, not the customer. The risk of our partners becoming bankrupt is rising each month. They will spend their money, including our credit, which means again 100% lost, because we have to repay the money to our customer or book something new on our coast. And there's not much new money after the restart due to the rebookings which are paid already. After losing money, the second big issue is not making money. 95% of the destinations we are selling to our customers can no longer be traveled. Countries are closed, like Indonesia. Countries are open, like Egypt or Maldives. But there are travel warnings from our government. So customer can travel on own risk, but they have to go in quarantine for, right now, 10 days. And as tour operator, we have a higher risk in selling these trips. And it also means free cancellation for our clients. There are no adequate alternatives. Diving in Germany and our neighboring countries is too cold and it's not much to see compared to Indonesia. There is no travel bubble except for a few preferred countries in Europe, but diving there is only okay. The German government gave and still gives support for every small and medium-sized business. Already in April, we got bridging aids from the country and the state. The amount was depending on the size of the company, and it was a fixed amount. For May, we got short-time work allowance for employees, but not for owners. The obligation to file for bankruptcy was suspended till September and now extended till December. For some industry sectors, luckily for tour operators as well, bridging aids were extended till September, later extended till December. At that time, the amount was depending on the loss of profit, but it was not the same amount we get. The help isn't that bad, but don't forget, in Germany, we have to pay the second highest tax burden in the world. Members of ADTO pay an annual fee that was reduced. We had and have fast information exchange by WhatsApp, email, or video meetings about everything from available flight connections, new rules and regulation, bad and good partners, or just mental support. We started a safe tourism campaign, rebook instead of cancel, in social media. For the restart, we are preparing hygiene protocols or new updated contracts with our partners. At the moment, no dive tour operator has stopped. One of the two German diving magazines was less lucky. What are the market potentials in Indonesia? The willingness to travel is high. Past experience with natural disasters and political problems around the world have shown it. Divers are more relaxed. I think because untouched diving destinations are usually adventurous to reach, and so divers are used to higher risks. And it is also the feedback of many customers which are waiting to travel again. One problem is that as more expensive the trips are, as older are the customers, and therefore the risk of COVID-19 for them. But it won't be 100% guess after travel is possible again. 2021 will be the year of waiting, with maybe 50% of the guests. 2022 will be the rising year, and hopefully in 2020-23 we are back to normal. The willingness to pay, average diving price per person is high, except the risks of the age that I just mentioned. Favorite dive destinations: di mana-mana, Bali, Sulawesi, Komodo, Raja Ampat, Halmahera, Alor, Kalimantan. Every new good dive destination is welcome. The knowledge due to social media and dive magazines is increasing faster than years ago. What are the expectations from Indonesia, from German diver? Simple things. In Germany, we have the 3-letter rule: distance, hygiene, mask. Distance, use signs at the floor, closed paths, walls, whatever. Most Germans like that. Hygiene, disinfections, cleaning hotels, the dive centers. Mask, beginning at the airport, but with enough distance in the hotel, they are not required anymore. And someone has to control compliance. Transparency and honesty to gain trust. I think Indonesia is already doing it quite well. As tour operator, we will follow the protocol of WHO for hotels, the protocol of DAN for dive centers and WAS for liveaboards. ADTO will ask all the partners before restart to send us their individual hygiene protocol. The result will be displayed on our member websites. Some proposals use rapid tester in popular destinations like Labuan Bajo for Komodo, Sorong for Raja Ampat, for gas and regularly for the pool. The use of global tracking apps. In Europe, we will soon have one only. For future we wish environmental and culture protection. I mean, it is a worldwide problem, but Bye Bye Plastic Bag from Bali is a good project that is well known in Germany. As Ministry of Tourism, you could promote sustainable traveling, give financial support or tax relief. Quality before quantity. Instead of more tourist centers with more competition and lower prices, better to have fewer and better quality ones.
All right.
We have to see this as chance.
Okay. Thank you, Mike.
Since this January, we have 2 dive shows in Germany, besides the Interdive Friedrichshafen in September. Both Düsseldorf, which is 9 days long, the biggest water sport exhibition in the world, including diving. Interdive Frankfurt, which is 5 days long, smaller and only for diving, made from diver. Tour operators and the rest of the diving industry had different opinions about the show before COVID-19, but now they changed their mind. Even the boat 2021 is confirmed. There are already many cancellations from exhibitor from Germany. Too expensive, too long in that situation.
The time is up.
Interdive Frankfurt is also confirmed, but for 4 days only, and more interest by a diving industry. But let's see, there are still 2 more months. This was my update from Germany. Thank you for listening, and I hope I am soon back in wonderful Indonesia.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Mike. Kenapa Mike-nya juga nggak bisa dengar, mungkin kita bisa moving forward to the next speaker ya. Oke, untuk panitia kalau ada yang ingin disampaikan kepada moderator, tolong ditulis dan disampaikan ya. Oke, terima kasih. Our next speaker is Jerome Kim from South Korea.
Okay,
he is director of Beyond Blue and Dive Travel Agent owner.
Just give me a thumbs up so I can tell.
Oh, sorry, yeah. It's not Jerome.
Okay,
I'm sorry,
so my name is Jerry.
Our next speaker is Jerry
director of a company called Dive Adventures, with an office in Sydney, office in Melbourne. We promote Australia-wide packages. We're a tour wholesaler, IATA agency. That's what we specialize in. We also sell to New Zealand market. And I don't have sort of any charts or anything to give you, purely because, we are definitely in a very unique situation in this part of the world. Okay, just to give you a little bit of an update for those who are not aware, it is highly political. It is highly controlled by the government, up I would say 100%. And the government and the politicians actually dictate, and the media, which jumps on board, dictates the path that people are taking as far as the future and the movement of people around the world is proceeding. At the moment in Australia and New Zealand, and most of the Pacific area, the South Pacific, no one is allowed to travel outside of the country. No one is allowed to leave Australia unless there are medical reasons, political reasons. Coming into the country is very, very limited. It's only for repatriation purposes or sort of diplomatic missions, and usually followed with a 14-day quarantine. Just to give you an example, at the moment, Victoria, we only have states in Australia and 1 territory, Northern Territory. At the moment, Victoria is in total lockdown, okay, even though they may only have 5 or 10 new cases a day, which means that all the dive centers are closed, everyone is not allowed to go anywhere except for certain hours within the 5-kilometre radius of the home, mainly for exercise purposes and maybe for a shop. New South Wales and other states are pretty much open. Really, to be quite honest, by international standards, the level of cases is literally minimal in the rest of the states. WA, Western Australia, pretty much 0 new transmissions. Queensland, pretty much 0 new transmissions. New South Wales, maybe, sort of, we had like 2 weeks with no transmissions. Then the last, couple of days we got few. Today was 1 or 2 new transmissions. We're not counting the cases coming in. So, and the funny thing is that at the moment, Queensland, which is where the Great Barrier Reef is pretty much, located, has a total border lockdown with New South Wales and definitely with Victoria. So we cannot even send divers from New South Wales or from Sydney to those states. And we're not even quite sure whether they will reopen. So as you can see, by that, Australia and this part of the world has taken extreme approach to this, assuming that they'll be able to get rid of COVID-19 or get it zero, or they're waiting for the vaccine, which, if it comes, that'll be a miracle. If it doesn't come, I think the path that we are taking will have to be reviewed and changed. So as I said, at the moment, as agents, travel and wholesaler, we can only send New South Wales divers to New South Wales, which is people diving on their doorstep. Not much can happen there. We can send divers from Queensland to dive in Queensland, and divers in the WA diving, in their own backyard. So it's very, very limited. As you can see, so local traffic is basically sort of stagnant. However, the dive centers in those areas are doing reasonably okay, purely because people have nothing else to do. There's nowhere else to go. So, they're learning to dive, they're getting in the water. There are restrictions on social distancing in place everywhere, even in places where they don't have, spread of, there's no case of COVID happening. And usually, sort of in Queensland, the liveaboards operate at reduced capacity. They try to social distance, and that's pretty much it. So the dire situation is quite dire, and just to put it even in a bit of a perspective further, to give you an idea, Western Australian government has just advised that they're not considering opening the borders to the rest of Australia until April 21. Which, I'm not going to comment on that because, as I said, it's getting into a political situation here. So that gives you the breakdown of the latest diving tourism in Australia. If very limited, pretty much local, and that's it. Now, as far as divers are concerned, we're getting a lot of calls from people that just want to go somewhere. They're desperate for the borders to open. Indonesia has been obviously a growing destination in bounds and leaps, and it's not just Western Australians travel to Bali in big numbers, but the rest of divers have traveled, pretty much throughout, and has been, one of the key destinations, and it still will be. I cannot see that changing. Most Australian divers are willing to travel. They're pretty adventurous. However, willingness to pay. Okay, so when this happened, a few months ago, we were quite okay. They put things on credit. They didn't want to pay, or they were ready to pay until the lockdowns happened again, because we are pretty much going in the right direction. Zero transactions, and things were looking good. And then the Victoria state, full lockdown. Really drastic measures. They want 0-0. And suddenly no one in Australia is certain of which direction this will take. And they have no idea whether they will be able to travel in 6 months' time, 12 months' time. There's people even thinking now, so I'm going to be too old to travel. There's some older divers as well. They're thinking, well, I'm 7 now, so God knows when it's going to open up. And so they're not prepared to pay or commit, and that's what we're noticing, until in this part of the world, we have some sort of indication of how the procedures will work, how it's going to go. They will have to change. In my view, I do not think that COVID will be eradicated. We'll either have to have vaccine or learn to live with,
Jerry,
and control.
you have another 1 minute.
Okay.
1 minute.
So Indonesia, definitely huge on the cards. What we have been spending our time is creating a new website, which we hope to launch in the next few weeks. We're putting packages together, programs together, ready to launch and promote and market as soon as we can. However, we are really not able to do that very much at this stage, purely because of the perception that it's not the right thing to do. It's just like, waving a red flag in front of the bull. That's how people perceive it, the market. So what's the point of you marketing this? We can't go, we don't, give us some good news first, and then, we'll consider. Right. So really, we're fairly limited in the department, sort of what we can, do, but we are preparing for it eventually, except we don't know when, things will change and improve. As far as the breakdown and the health protocols in Australia, I already mentioned, sort of nothing really too dramatic. New South Wales is very relaxed. You can go pretty much to bars. There's, a bit of social distancing. They limit the numbers. They encourage, 1.5 meter. Whoops, sorry. Let's grab this. Is from Arif. Arif.
Hi.
Well, Arif must have told me by mistake. Arif is sort of the facilitator of this meeting.
No, the time is up. Mas Arif,
so,
please check.
Really.
Thank you. Please check.
Arif, do you want to say something?
Yeah, the time is up.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Okay, so quickly, I'll finish this off.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, so divers are definitely keen to travel, but sort of from Australian point of view, it is highly government-controlled, politically driven situation. Until Indonesia creates a bubble or some sort of inter-country agreement allowing Australians to travel, it'll be almost impossible. Once that happens, we are ready to promote, sort of end market and push Indonesia to as much as possible. And there were a few cases. One thing we would like from the Indonesian government, if they can encourage operators in Indonesia to ensure that they honor the credit and full for travelers who have been inconvenienced by COVID-19. There's a number of other factors, but that's pretty much in a nutshell. If there's any questions, I'll be here and I'm happy to answer afterwards. Sorry, I didn't mean to run out of time. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jerry. Let's give a round of applause to Jerry. Mungkin bisa dari panitia dibantu karena suara saya tidak terdengar ke pembicara kita yang di sebelah sana. Jadi bisa dibantu dengan chat untuk runut 5 menit, 3 menit, 2 menit, 1 gitu. Karena percuma untuk mengingatkan saya untuk mengingatkan mereka ya. Terima kasih. Okay, our next speaker is Jerome Kim from South Korea, Director of Beyond Blue and Dive Travel Agent Owner. Hello, Jerome. Can you hear me? Hello.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Okay. Lolo, good to see you again. You were my MC in my workshop in Indonesia.
Nice to see you, Jerome. Miss you around.
Okay, me too. Actually, I was asked by Arif for this meeting. I thought this is just casual meeting with several speakers, not like this kind of official speaking. Okay, so I didn't prepare myself for this, but I just want to share some diving industry in Korea first. Then Korea is surrounded by 3 seas, east, west, and south. And then we have several diving destinations, diving points in this country. But the water is too cold and too murky, so the Koreans seldom diving in this in Korea. So they want to go abroad, like Indonesia, Palau, and Japan is very near from us. And actually, Indonesia is one of the newest diving destination to Korean market. Okay, it's very new actually. We have many dive shop, Korean dive shop in the Philippines. I think it's more than 70 Korean dive shop in the Philippines. And we also have some shops in Palau, and Thailand and Japan. So the diving industry, the tourism industry in Korea is not in Korea itself. They want to go abroad because the water is too cold. It's like the best season for diving in Korea is like this season, the autumn. We have the warm water, like 23 degrees. So mostly this is the best season for Korea. But since the pandemic started, we cannot go abroad. So the Korean diving resorts are really in good business because all divers diving in Korea only. Okay, so the diving shops in East Sea is really busy, and also the diving shops in Jeju Island is so busy these days. They are really doing well. And actually, I don't think I'm the right person to speak about Korean dive market, since I live in the Philippines for last 20 years, then moved to my home country because of the lockdown of the Philippine government. Okay, so about Indonesia, I've been to several dive destinations in Indonesia, like Raja Ampat, Komodo, Bali, Lembeh, and Ambon, Bandasi. And I lead some, myself, I organize some dive trips, like liveaboard trips. And as a underwater photographer, I have several followers who's following me, so I brought them to Tulamben and Lembeh and some like Raja Ampats, okay? We also have the same situation. It's like all of you, okay? We had strict lockdown in March to April, but from the April, I think Korea is one of the best country who are doing good quarantine systems. So now we have second wave of the pandemic, but we only have like 30 to 40 new positive cases only, okay? And what else? Korean divers are actually very aggressive, and they like to found new destinations. And then they don't really care about the expenses if they want to try. So it's like they're going everywhere, okay? And then they don't really care about the expenses. And now for the Indonesia, okay, what we expect to Indonesia tourism
Jerome,
is.
you have another 3 minutes, okay?
Okay. I don't need 3 minutes. I just want to finish faster.
Okay.
Sorry. Okay, it's a joke. Insight into South Korea diverse inspection from Indonesia. It's like same like the previous speakers. We need strict hygiene, and we really care about the health systems in the Indonesia. Okay, in case of some positive cases, so how can we do it? Okay, then promoting Indonesia to Korean market. I think I worked together with Philippine tourism for last 5 years very closely, and then I organized some events in Korea together with Philippine tourism. Okay? I want, if possible, the Indonesia tourism can do those kind of camp tour or events in Korea to promote Indonesian diving into Korean market. Okay? Then, actually, that's all. If you have any questions, I can answer the question. Okay. Thank you for calling me Arif, and good to see you again, Lolo, and another friends. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Good to see you. Thank you, Ms. Jerome. Let's give applause to Mr. Jerome Kim. Thank you. So,
thank you.
Are you okay? Okay, great. Our next speaker is from our neighbor country, Malaysia, Ms. Tir Alda.
She is co-founder of Scuba Network and dive operator, dive training, and marine conservation. Hi, Ms. Tiur.
Hello, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen.
Good afternoon.
Selamat siang, Bali.
Selamat siang.
Thank you for the opportunity to invite me to join this meeting event. Let me introduce myself. I am Tiur Alda. Actually, I am Indonesian citizen who lived in Malaysia for more than 10 years. I'm married with a Malaysian and together with my husband, just next to me, Asman Kamaluddin, who also founder of the company. We own and run diving business called Scuba Network since 2012 in Malaysia. We are dive operator who bring divers to dive in Tenggol Island, Terengganu, and also giving training and certified divers under IANTD, or International Association Nitrox and Technical Divers. In Malaysia has lots of diving destination and some of them are world class, and it can be divided as two main areas. First, Peninsula Malaysia and Borneo. In Peninsula Malaysia, we have famous islands for diving such as Tenggol Island, Tioman Island, Perhentian, and Redang Island. And in Borneo, we have Mabul, Layang-Layang, and Sipadang as the world-class diving destination. Malaysia is among the leading dive destinations in the world with one of the richest marine environment in the Indo-Pacific region. Malaysia diving spots have been most favorite for local divers and also international divers. Malaysia diving tourism has been promoted very well across the country and even more growing from time to time. Since the COVID-19 outbreak worldwide early this year, then the government started to implement movement control order, or we call it MCO, in mid of March. Since then, with the worldwide travel coming to a standstill, restriction on border crossing, and the domestic MCO in Malaysia, the scuba industry here has shut down completely. There has been nothing happening in scuba except for the ability to offer online theory classes. Local dive centers have suffered the loss of retail sales and the revenue from conducting dive trips and classes for divers. Island dive centers have essentially lost half of the business season that runs from March through October, or at the time we were recently open after the monsoon season. And even when diving and training classes are permitted to commence, the flow of divers and dive students is expected to be very low. Also, the most relevant sector who got badly impacted was the employment around the dive boats, the dive guides and instructor, and the dive center, including staff and management. As the MCO has been relaxed by June 2020, it was around 3 months after the closing from March to June, the government started to open the domestic border with strict SOP and guidance implement to all sectors, including diving tourism. Diving tourism SOP has been issued by the National Security Council and has to be mandatory, followed by diving industry players or dive operators. Some of the SOP or standard of procedure included scan of the My Sejahtera is a government online application in every premises to tracing the COVID-19 spread within nationwide that every citizen must have. And then temperature body checking before entering the boat or dive premise, fill up the health declaration and must sign by divers on top of liability forms, and face mask is a mandatory on the public jetty and on the boat and any place that you cannot have 1 meter social distancing. The hand sanitizer has to be provided by the dive operator in strategic spots. Diving gear is not encouraging to be rent out to divers. Or if divers have to rent, sanitation on diving gear is a must. And diver is advised to bring their own mouthpiece for their regulator. During this RMCO or Recovery Movement Control Order, local Malaysians have interstate cross-border and having visit tourism places, including diving. Malaysian government support local tourism and encourage Malaysian to visiting local tourism, even give a bit some tax relief for those who spend cash in tourism as a part of economic recovery. By then, diving tourism has been starting to react positively and slowly to pick up. Since Malaysian diver cannot go diving overseas, then they rather to spend diving to explore in their own country. Started from June up to now. Okay. Mostly Malaysian divers have been dive in Malaysia and also increasing numbers of new certified divers. Business is almost back to normal from local market, but nothing, of course, from international. Still, and of course, standard of procedure has been strictly implemented in all dive center or dive operator. In Peninsula Malaysia, especially East Coast, the diving tourism is only open from March to October due to monsoon season. So now it's nearly monsoon. So normally Malaysian divers who cannot dive in Peninsula Malaysia will go to Borneo sites for diving as no monsoon in Borneo. And also Malaysia go to overseas, like to neighbor country like Indonesia. So Malaysia divers are really love to dive in Indonesia, as Indonesia has unique creatures underwater that rarely seen in Malaysia water, and wonderful scenery of corals and pelagic in every side of the countries. Indonesia have very beautiful places to dive and more to discover. Favorite destination in Indonesia, such as Pulau Bali, Komodo, Raja Ampat, Lombok, Derawan, North Sulawesi, and Ambon. Indonesia government already did good marketing for diving industry on Malaysia market, such as always participate yearly in Malaysia Diving Expo and exhibit with very fascinating booth to promote Indonesia diving tourism. As a lot of Malaysians love to dive around in Indonesia. Very good job to Indonesia Tourism or Wonderful Indonesia. I was asking around that some dive trip leader already booked diving trip in Indonesia this year, including flight ticket. Some items were burned out and non-refundable, and some package luckily can be postponed until next year. Lots of enthusiasm from the Malaysian diver toward Indonesia diving tourism. Some input to Indonesian diving tourism to evaluate on the price of the national park for foreigners, especially for Southeast Asia tourism. And we do also hope to Indonesia government to support Malaysia diving destination to domestic markets, such as like exchange customer between countries. And we all hope we can fight this pandemic soon and open border between countries so we can go diving in Indonesia. So looking forward to dive in Indonesia again. I know there are many Malaysians really miss to dive in Indonesia. We all hope for the best to Indonesia diving tourism and worldwide. Stay healthy and safe. And thank you for your time.
Give kindly please applause for Ms. Teo Alda. Okay, and our next speaker will be John Todd, President of Asia Dive Expo or ADEX. Hi, John. Can you hear me? Yes. Yes, great.
I thank you for Indonesia Tourism to organize this event. Singapore COVID situation is a day by day much better. So like it's not like a really like a starting like a many months ago. So in Singapore, dive centers are also conducting some of the courses, and Polahantu, the local divers are doing a lot of training and training and all in the Polahantus and things like that. So like, and Singapore divers are always being traveling is the most important part of the Singapore divers. So the diving industry in Singapore is that we hope that is a traveling and reopen. So most of the divers can't wait to go back to dive because of ocean is healthy now. So it's the important part of our industry is because of diving is not just now and then we can promote our locally in many places like Indonesia and things like you can still do diving, but some part of the world they cannot dive in their own city or own country. So it's very important for us to keep promoting diving in where we are. Diving is like in this situation that it's a safety important, but we all have to understand is that when there is really a COVID time, in Taiwan was never closed on the diving. If you really understand because this virus not surviving water, and so like if we really know that is that diving is not you don't need a diving, you don't need a social distancing. Only you need a social distancing when you are on the land when you go diving. So like and sports is something like when you have a COVID, everything is closed. Some of the sports in Singapore you cannot play interactive sports like football and all those, but you can still play on badminton and all those because you don't need to have interact with the body to body. So the best of if you think about it, it's the sports for the diving, and you don't need to worry about the sports. It's in terms of even though in underwater when you have a very close another body and we're diving, you don't need to have this kind of the issue. So I'm strongly encouraged that it's a government level to be really consider that is a diving is not a things to be locally. Not you don't need to stop for any other. It's like any other kind of sports the interest level. All you have to be really make sure that all the dive center make sure make sure the diving is how in the lands how to be protect. Social distancing to be a hygiene that just now from Germany, he mentioned about how the hygiene and all these things will be very careful. And I believe that this industry will be back right after all the COVID is over or really a vaccine is out. So and also we also have to we think about it how the marketing and how to promote the diving is very important, like what Paul said, and we have to promote diving as one of the safety sports that people no need to worry about when you are in the underwater. So like it's a lot of education needed, and we have to work together. That is the only way to be moved forward. That is as an industry. And also another way of marketing is that nowadays you think about it, nobody flies so far away. Either you dive in your own country or you will dive in the neighbors. So for me, this Southeast Asia country is a very important now for us to do, especially like diving in Indonesia, diving because a neighboring country, because you don't need to fly long flight to get there. You have a short flight to get it. So like the minute once you open it, all the neighbor country, definitely the Singapore will be definitely go to the neighbor country. Singapore divers will be go to neighbor country and do diving. That is one thing. As a part of talk about what we do with the ADEX and what we do, I try to think about it for always the industry and community player together. So like in this time that I'm working on the 2021 for the corporate. I try to build up the database on what I already have it with our subscribers from the things like that. So like we are going to launch very soon. That is it's called a community membership for the diverholics, all the diverholics. So like corporate members I'm not going to have a corporate member for anything charging because I need to support the business first. To be all the business are being suffered in terms of this industry. So like we need to support the business owner and business things. It's like we need to take care of industry player, how to promote them, how to keep promoting diving. And at the meantime, the education is diving and then COVID, how important this thing. So like you need to be really have to be narrowed down to these two that I'm going to do it. And at the meantime, I'm not thinking about how to be try to make money from the industry player. I should be focusing on the divers. So like divers, when you for example, like when you play sports, you are in the hobby, you stay spend money on even the COVID time, whatever you do, even you stay essential, you stay spend money with your sports. So if you like diving, the divers they can afford for the certain things that is that when you are in the sports. So like we will be focusing on the building up we will have a different kind of corporate membership, and I'm aiming to have a 2021 must dive in the 4 location that I'm going to focus next year. And the first issue that we are going to launch will be a Scuba 101. This will be a focusing kind of format. Is going to be, we will be going to launch on the 2021 must dive in a dive destination. And first edition will be a Southeast Asia. We are working on it. We are going to launch end of December. And next edition will be a East Asia, Southeast Asia, and the last one, the Coral Triangle. So like we will introduce the 21 dive destination in the dive destination in Southeast Asia. That will be also a promoting of the individual, the country, the partner, and also a dive center to work with. And we want to get all the divers, and we call it the diver holics, to achieve that. So I welcome every industry player to be a part of this, to be work together. If you want to be listed, we are welcome. There is no fees on it. You are welcome to list it, to be a part of this, to sign up on it. Me and my team is definitely working on that to share with so like we also can be supporting of the industry. At the meantime, we will be keeping communicate with the community, the divers, to be interest level of diving, and definitely ocean is healthy. That is the most important, that we keep reminding the divers that when you miss ocean, and this is the time that because of not many people diving 2020. So 2021 is the place that is where you can do divings, and what you can achieve a lot of things. So like as a media, I want to play my part. That is that I will definitely promote diving as this is the time that we should be promoting on. Okay. Sure. I think the last one would be I just want to share with the industry and industry player to like this is the time that we should work together. We have to keep communicate each other to achieve where we want to drive on targeting the 2021. Hopefully all the things will be settled in this year, and then we can achieve back on track on our industry will be back on track on the 2021. That's all I want to say. Thank you.
Hello? Can you hear me? Hi. Okay. Can you see the screen I share now? Oh, okay. Sorry, it's my first time using this on the meeting. I don't really know. I'm not really. Okay. And sorry, I couldn't show you I couldn't see which page I'm showing you right now. So let me. It's okay. I don't know how to share. Okay, I just tell you information on the slides. Okay, thank you for the opportunity to speak here. And my name is Priscilla Jiao, and I'm the founder of the China Scuba Diving. It's a WeChat public account. I started it in 2014. It is like a daily newsletter, so people can sign up to it. So right now we have more than 170,000 subscribers, and mostly divers who reside in China. So during this speech, when I mention China, I mean Chinese mainland. I just want to put it simply. So I would like to give you an overview of the size of Chinese diving community before the pandemic. Actually, there's no official number of certified divers in China. So it is like estimated maybe about 500,000 divers in China. It's a very conservative estimate. Others might have more optimistic estimate. The CEO of PADI China said in 2019 that they hope to issue 500,000 new certificates in 5 years' time. So that tells you, give you an idea about the size of the Chinese diving community. So before the pandemic, almost all of our bookings are overseas diving packages, especially Southeast Asia. And Chinese divers certified mostly in the 4 Southeast Asian countries, including Indonesia. And our overseas bookings have stopped since April because it was very serious in February in China. But at that time, Chinese can still travel abroad. So we still have some new bookings in March, in February and March. But since maybe March, and some bookings are canceled, especially like in Thailand and other countries. So right now we have 0 overseas bookings. So and public accounts in China or some dive centers in China start to promote the dive sites inside China. And after it's pretty safe to travel, maybe in around May, inside China, many Chinese divers turn to domestic diving sites, and they use their time to learn new skills. We all know that there's not much to see in China's ocean, so lots of people use this time to learn new skills like better buoyancy control, dry suit specialty, or nitrox. And for myself, I've never dived in China in the past before the pandemic, but I went for diving in Fujian, Yunnan, and Guangxi provinces in August and September. So when I travel, people are only required to wear masks at train stations, ferries, and airplanes. In other parts of the cities, it's quite normal now. And maybe you have seen from the news reports, in China, 5.5 billion people were on travel during the national holiday. What we do is we have a provincial health QR code, which records every person's trace inside China in the past 2 weeks. So it's connected to our mobile phone numbers with a real name system. So it's a bit like a arrival card. So when I arrive in a new province, I need to scan the provincial QR code and register saying where I come from, where I plan to stay, how many days I plan to stay, etc. And then after I come back to Beijing, I need to update where I have been to. And after I updated it, my QR code will show green color, which means you haven't been to any high risk areas. So you are able to move around easily. And to prepare for this meeting, I designed a little market survey. It's very simple and short. So we actually sent it out yesterday, and we have collected nearly 1,000 feedback. So among the respondents, 55 are male, 45 are female, so it's about half and half. And about 75% are from the age of 20 to 40 years old, and 20% are from 40 to 50. So mostly are young or middle-aged people. About 90% are scuba divers, and 7% are free divers, and the rest are non-divers but who plan to learn diving. 97% live in Chinese mainland. So among them, 60% have dived since the pandemic. So slightly among the people who have dived, half of them have dived in lakes or oceans in China, and 1/3 have dived in pools or aquariums. Only 12.5% have dived overseas. So basically, since the pandemic, Chinese divers, most of them only dive in China. And from these areas, they have been diving in China. About half have dived in warm waters in Sanya and Zhuhai, in this kind of really warm areas. And almost half spent under $700, and a quarter spent between $700 to $1,400, which means most divers have only dived one or twice inside China. Actually, the visibility in Chinese Ocean is not very good. When I went for diving, it's really murky. On one dive site, it's almost zero visibility. So the dive guy had to ask us to ascend because he cannot see anything there. So among the respondents, 1/3 think the diving market will start to recover the second half of next year. Okay, so another hard to say. And in terms of Indonesian diving, 25% have been to Bali, and 15% have been to Manado. And this is followed by Komodo, Raja Ampat. And if the Indonesia reopen its market, the top 4 diving destinations they want to go is Raja Ampat, Komodo, Manado, and Banda Sea. Only 0.3% don't want to go to Indonesia. So the potential of diving in Indonesia is still very high. And they are attracted to colorful reef and the big marine animals. And for the Chinese divers, they are a little bit concerned about anti-China reactions because they're worried the other countries blame China for this starting this pandemic, and they will get attack or some kind of rude language. So also in China, even if other countries open their market, it's also depending on our own country's policy about the quarantine has to be lifted, and their employers have to allow them to go out. So it's in my opinion, maybe I think I agree with many divers. Maybe the second half of next year, the diving market will start to recover. Thank you very much.
Priscilla Xiaopei from China. Okay. I would like to present John from SSI again. I think there is some of the presentation not presented yet, correct? Yes. Hi, John. Sorry, we cannot hear you. Can you? Yes. 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 No.
Yes or no?
Oh, yeah. Yes, now I can. Please. The screen is yours.
You sure? I'm not going to get cut off? Okay. Sure, okay. As most of everyone's covered there, I'm going to keep this shorter now because we've covered a lot of the safety protocols. But we do need to look at how our industry is going to survive. Without dive centres, everything else is mute. If we cannot keep our dive centres active and operational until the world can travel again, who's going to take them diving when we can travel? So we, as an industry, have got to look at ways of supporting our dive centres. And for governments, as my counterpart said, we were asked what governments can do to assist us. As agencies, we can do a certain amount of things. So for SSI, we've reduced our renewals next year by 50%. We've kept our prices the same. We've tried to donate back to the industry. We are only going to have domestic diving to play with for a good number of months, if not years. And so for Indonesia, what we would like to see is for the domestic tourism, let's promote diving. The dive centres do not have the finances to be able to mount campaigns like that. But for domestic tourism here in Indonesia, it can contribute considerably to the number of divers to keep these dive centres open. So when international travel can come again, we can actually have active, open and operational dive centres. So ways that we can get the domestic market to be promoted. Would you rather come to Sulumben, some of the remoter areas, or do you want to go to the busy nightlife of Kuta, which isn't anymore? The big cities. We need to promote to the domestic tourists to take up this activity. As many of the other speakers have said, it is safe diving. We have got a well-regulated industry that with all the DAN and everything else, we can take divers diving safely. We're not having mass gatherings, but we need to focus on domestic market. And we were asked questions, what can we do to help? We need the domestic market to be promoted, to go diving, to explore Indonesia, to allow these dive centres to remain open. We need to look at ways of keeping them there because at the moment, 90% drop in income. If this carries on longer, I wonder how many dive centres will actually be around at the end of 2021. We've got to find ways together of looking after our industry. So for agencies, we can do things with discounted membership, maintaining prices. But we need to look at ways also of keeping the professionals in this industry. Possibly for Indonesia, we have many hundreds, if not thousands, of very experienced dive professionals, dive managers, dive centre owners, instructor trainers that have spent considerable money in 2020 on work visas. They can't use them. Is there any way we can extend the visa to 2021 so we don't have a brain drain, we don't lose all the professionals from the market? We need to find ways to support our dive centres so they're still open, so that when travel comes back, when China, Malaysia, Singapore, Australia want to travel to Indonesia again, we have active, healthy and professional dive centres still running. There's not many industries that can survive a 90% drop in income and still be open. We're seeing around the world businesses close left, right and centre. We need together to find ways to actually assist our dive centres to stay profitable and stay open. All the destinations we've talked about, the diving's there. It doesn't change. If anything, it's going to be better. It's seen less divers in 2020 than it's seen for years. It's just waiting for us to come back and enjoy. But if there's no dive centres there open, who are you going to send your guests to? So before we see international tourists come back, the domestic market is so important for our industry here in Indonesia to remain open and remain viable. And these are questions we need to look at. It's the same in every country. We're looking at domestic market. And this isn't going to change in the next 2-3 months. We have got to find ways of supporting our dive centres to keep them open. For us personally, as SSI Indonesia, we've committed to maintain all our staff. We haven't laid off one staff member. We haven't cut their salaries. We've empowered them to help dive centres. They can empathise with them. We're all living here. Indonesia, I believe, from watching the news, BBC, CNN, Al Jazeera, ABC, we have stricter protocols on mask wearing, social distancing. Every time you go to a shopping centre, they're QR coding you, you're washing your hands. From what I see on the news, we in Southeast Asia are actually doing better on safety protocols for COVID-19 than most of the world, most of Europe, what I see, and the US. But until international tourism does open up, and there's so many questions on airlines, quarantine, travel bubbles, that are outside our control. But what we can control is our domestic tourism, and we need to see the government help maintain our dive centres. In some way, we've got to find ways of giving them relief. If I'm honest, I'm very impressed. I live in Bali. I see what's going on here, and I see around the world. The COVID-19 safety protocols here are world-class. Our diving's world-class, but we've got to look at ways of getting domestic tourism to come to our dive centres. Otherwise, they will not be around by the end of 2021.
Thank you. Give applause to Mr. John Shepherd. Okay, we have listened to the information, experiences, view, and statement from our speakers. And now we open a question and answer session. We only have, how many questions that we allow on this session? 3 questions, yes, please. Please state your name, your institutions, and who's the speaker that you want to answer your questions. Thank you very much.
Okay, good afternoon. My name is Dika, and I'm a diving instructor, worker, not owner. All right then. So my question is easy. There are 2 questions that I need to ask you guys as a diver attendants in this world. Yeah. So I believe that all the dive operator in Indonesia, in Bali especially, all apply with the health protocol. And I need you guys to share that one to everyone in this world, that Bali is safe to visit, something like that. To be honest, all the worker in Bali, especially the dive professional, they are like losing the job or something like that. So guys, trust me that Bali now is a safe to visit, something like that. Yeah, we apply already the health protocol very well. I believe that. So my question is easy. When this pandemic ends soon, and then when the diving industry is back up again, I want to ask you guys, this is just for your opinion. I have my opinion, but I need you to give me the opinion. Just your prediction, something like that. I know everybody doesn't know about that, but you are in diving industry, attendance in this world. I want to know your opinion. That is my first question. My second question is, what is the most issue? Why no customer, no diver go to Bali? Is it because the border, visa, or maybe people scared come to Bali? I want to know about that. Just it. Something like that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mas Dika. Thank you, Mas Dika. I think since Tosh is here, can say first the optimistic time that this diving industry can regain again.
It's a $1 million question that I don't have the answer for. When's the dive industry going to come back? When tourism comes back? I'd like to kind of reiterate what John had said earlier. We can't control when the borders are going to open up. We can't control when Australia are going to let them travel interstate. How about overseas? That we can't control. What we can control is the domestic market, is to be able to push as much as you possibly can and get divers that are Indonesian and to be able to travel. You've got Komodo that's open for domestic tourism. You've got Bali that's open for domestic tourism. You have Pulawai that's open for domestic tourism. And these areas are available for people to be able to go dive in, and that's what we've got to focus on. Waiting for the borders to open up is a wasted game. You can't just sit there and wait and wait and wait and just hope we'll get a magic answer and a magic cure. This might be tomorrow, it might be in 2022. Nobody knows.
Thank you.
Second question?
And the second question is, what is the most issue?
You have visa on arrival, people will come back to Bali. As soon as you have visa on arrival, as soon as they open up and they can leave their country, they'll come back to Bali, they'll come back to Indonesia. Every single person on the panel, whether they're from Germany, whether they're from America, or whether they're from Australia, people are desperate to travel. They're dying to travel, and so much so even 60% of the divers in China have tried diving in China at least once. So, as soon as they can, they will open up and they will come back. But it's just as soon as it's safe.
That's true, that's true. Thank you very much, Tosh. Is there any other speaker that would like to add it to that, like the most optimistic time when the border is open and people can come back divers can come back to Bali? Is there anyone want to answer? I think it's already represented by Tosh. Yes, Miss?
The most issue is like in Malaysia, we cannot leave Malaysia. All the Malaysian cannot leave the country without valid reason. Yeah, that's the most issue. We really love to go to Bali. We really love to dive in Indonesia, but unfortunately, we cannot leave Malaysia until government allow us to leave Malaysia. Okay. No, not the visa permit. because from Malaysia to Indonesia we don't need visa, right? So you just, because our government cannot allow Malaysian to leave Malaysia for the during this pandemic without valid reason. That's all.
From your government on when, Ms. Thier? Not yet?
We are not sure yet. Even now, we are facing the third wave of the COVID-19. Third wave. Even now, we cannot travel to other area like to Sabah. From Peninsula Malaysia, we cannot travel to Sabah because now Sabah is very is the peak of the COVID-19 in Sabah. There are many infected people in Sabah.
Mas Dika, I hope it's answered your questions. Okay. Thank you. Is there any other? Two last questions? Oh yeah, John, we can hear.
The question of when international tourism comes back is beyond all our scope. I mean, you watch the news today, it's not getting better in Europe, it's not getting better in the US. We really do have to focus on our domestic industry. And for the person asking the question there, we've got to find ways of keeping these guys employed, keeping them active and keeping them busy. And that's only going to happen through domestic tourism until international travel is allowed again. And as Tosh said, we can't answer that question. It's governments can't answer, so we can't. But we can, as a group, as an organisation, help domestic tourism. And we need to help keep our dive centres open and keep employing our dive professionals. Otherwise, when international tourism do come back, who's going to take them diving?
No? Panitia gimana? Sudah? Okay. Thank you very much then. With the end of the question and answer session, the second session is almost over. But first, I want to thank the speakers who have attended and shared their insight online and offline, of course. And of course, we hope that this event can be the first step to establish coordination and strengthen cooperation between the international diving industry so that we can jointly rise from the COVID-19 pandemic crisis. Okay, let us give for the last time round applause to all the speakers from all over the country and also here. Okay, I leave it back to the MC, Benadia, please.
Okay, thank you for all speakers, offline and online, and moderator. Before we ended the session, I would like to ask all speakers, offline and online, to take a picture. So for Paul and moderators, stay there and keep smiling. I will start the counting. Yeah, you know the masker. Mas Arif, ready? Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3. Big smile. One more time, yeah? Everyone can express themselves. It's supposed to be not only smile, whatever you want. Okay, one more time. 1, 2, 3. Nice. Please give big applause to all speakers and our moderators. It has been wonderful conversation. It has been wonderful conversation. Hopefully this discussion give us valuable knowledge and excitement to all of us. On behalf of the Ministry of Tourism and Economic Creative, I would like to say thank you to all guests from government organization and all participants. And to end this event, I would like to stay healthy. Please put your mask on. And good evening. See you in the next round. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.